Lennix is a joy to have in class. She's a very thoughtful student and she's always participating. She's a good friend to many students in the class and always has a smile on her face, which we love. She's a joy to have as a student because she's always making it easier for me by participating, and she's always up to try new things, which I love about Lennix. Sometimes she has a difficult time paying attention during our whole group instruction, but I'm always impressed by how hard she's trying. And, even despite the distractions that might be around her. This past month, we've been working a lot on helping Lennix improve her reading and writing skills, and she's shown a lot of improvement. And I just want to show you some of the work that she's done. And some of the assessments we do are just to kind of gauge where she's at. First, I wanted to show you this little writing project we did. They got to choose a monster and describe it. And Lennix just says, "My monster has yellow fur. My monster has some goggles." And that's her monster there. And as you'll see, Lennix has just a lot of creativity in her mind. She has great handwriting skills, which I'm very impressed with. I can always read the letters that she's writing, which she's working very hard on. She also is a very thoughtful reader. We recently read a book. It was called Bud the Pug, and we were working on our short U vowel sound. And this is the running record I did with her. And running records are basically to help me as the teacher kind of see the different strategies she uses to help her read successfully. It helps me see how she's creating meaning with the text. And if she does make mistakes in reading, running records help me decide if it's because she's trying to make meaning or what specific letters or words she's having a hard time with. But I was so impressed with Lennix because when we were reading this book, Bud the Pug, it talked about how the pug was in the tub, in the suds. And Lennix kept saying, instead of suds, she kept saying the word sides, like the sides of a tub. And the reason she was doing this is because suds was a new word to her. So suds didn't make any sense. And so I found that very a positive attribute about Lennix, is that she was comprehending the text in a way that she was trying to make meaning of the text. She was trying to understand what was happening, which is why she kept saying sides instead of suds. And I thought that was really great. And once we talked about what suds were, she really understood and was able to comprehend that text even more. So that was a really great thing to see. The other thing that I love about Lennix is that she's a very thoughtful reader, and she's always trying to make sure she sounds out each word correctly. In class, we do something called finger stretching, where we see a word and we stretch it out. Like if we take that word suds, for example, we do suds. That's something we do as a class. And I notice Lennix, when she's reading by herself, that she's doing this with her fingers in her mind, trying to sound the words out. And I think that that's a very good practice for her as she continues to learn how to read. I'm very impressed with that. Obviously, we always want to be finding ways that we can improve with our students. And I just wanted to talk about one or two of those things with you today. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed because all of us are working on things. But one thing I wanted Lennix to start to work on would be to improve. While her letters look really great, I just wanted to see her improve her handwriting a little bit more as far as the spacing of her words. For example, just right here, she writes the word goggles, but the G, she kind of splits that word up. And we'd like to start seeing her, keeping those words together, just so that's easier for me to read and for her to maybe read later on when she's looking back on her work. So that's one thing that we're hoping to work on with her. Another thing that we were hoping to work on I did this writing sample with her. I said a sentence and she wrote it down. And this was basically just so that I could see if she was making a relationship between the letter sounds and the actual letters, writing them down. So we did this. It just says, today I will ride to school in a yellow bus. My friend will walk with his sister. And this right here is what Lennix wrote. She just says, today I will ride to school in a yellow bus. So the main thing that I was hoping to improve with Lennix is just that B and D, she gets a little confused. So in these sentences, every time that it was the D sound, she wrote the letter B. And that's actually very common at this age to get those two letters confused. And so that was just something that I noticed, even with our progress monitoring. That was one of the letters that she struggled with. Instead of, when I said the word tid, she was supposed to finger stretch and she said t-ib. So that's just one thing that we want to work on with her. As far as you guys go, there's some things you can do with her at home to help her with this. As far as her handwriting goes, it might be nice to get Lennix a journal of sorts that she can write down. She can practice her handwriting and her writing skills. Another thing is, when you are in the car or just, going about your day, you guys can go ahead and notice the different b and d sounds in your day. Like there is a dog, d-a-g, dog. And maybe remind yourselves, maybe spell out the letter D in the air, just to kind of help her remember the difference between the B and the D, just because they are so similar. And so it's easy to get those two things confused. Here at school, we are actually going to be writing thank you notes to people. And we're hoping that writing these thank you notes will help build our students' understanding that the things we write have meaning. And so we're hoping that this will also help Lennix to create meaning when she's writing things down, to help her, really work hard on that punctuation and that spacing between words and making sure that people can read what we're writing. And so that's something that we're going to be doing in class to practice those writing skills, and helping us, practice sounding out letters in our heads and then writing those letters on our pages. The other thing I was just going to suggest is that because Lennix is such a strong reader at this point, she definitely has some things to improve on, but right now she's really improved a ton in decoding words. And I think it would be a good thing at home to start reading enjoyable books that are at her reading level. And so I actually have a few. She's at the reading level B. I have a few of those books. A lot of times in our small reading groups, we read some decodable texts. But I really want to start reading books that have an interesting plot and an interesting story that Lennix can enjoy, to help her, have that desire to read and to really understand what's going on in the story. So I actually have some set aside that you are welcome to take home and read with Lennix, as well as if you have some at home that you would like to read with Lennix at just a kind of a level B. I know that you don't necessarily know what that means, but I can kind of give you some resources and some ideas for books that you can read at home with Lennix that she would really enjoy. And I think that would improve her motivation and desire to read. All of that being said, I just wanted to really tell you how much we love having Lennix in the class. She's a hard worker. I had the chance to actually do some little extra assessments with her these past few weeks, and she has been so willing to try new things. She's just so happy to be at school. And I just love having students like that in my class because they truly make it a more positive environment. And I just love having Lennix around. So thank you for letting us get to know her more. And I hope that we can continue to work on these reading and literacy skills with her. I know that it's going to really help her in her future. So thanks for coming in today.